Hi, ladies. It's the month of February, the love month. I'm so excited to be with you. I know we've been talking about what would Jesus do and looking at different aspects of Jesus' characteristics, but also looking at different teachings of Jesus and then trying to apply that to, okay, now how do I teach that to my children? What I'd like to look at today is we're going to talk about teaching our children to watch their words. And I take that from Matthew chapter 12. Matthew chapter 12, the words of Jesus. And it says, starting in verse 34. And he's talking to the Pharisees here, and he's not happy with them. So in verse 34, he says, "You brood of vipers, how can you, being evil, speak what is good? For the mouth speaks out of that which fills the heart. The good man out of his good treasure brings forth what is good, and the evil man out of his evil treasure brings forth what is evil. And I say to you that every careless word that men shall speak, they shall render account for it in the day of judgment. For by your words you shall be justified, and by your words you shall be condemned." Now, as an adult, as I look at that scripture, I'm like, ooh, okay, I know I need to watch my mouth, and I have a flapping tongue that can get me in trouble. But we're talking about how do we teach that to our children? Well, when I'm teaching this to kids, I focus on the part about out of the good heart, out of the good treasure flows good things. So out of a good heart, good words flow. And remember, we've been talking about being like Jesus. We're going to love God. We're going to love others. And we've been planting those things in our children. And now we're going to start seeing those things come out in the words that they share. And so our job as the parent, as we look at this, God's not making a list of words to throw at us on Judgment Day. That's not what's happening here. Now, don't take it to mean that. Jesus is talking about your heart. Your heart. Now, your heart will be judged at judgment. But we want to have a heart that loves Jesus and is flowing things out that are good things. So understanding that, then as parents, our job is to then watch or listen to our children, to the things that they start saying and sharing. And that will help us as parents to understand when we need to maybe put some more guard posts into place, to reach out and to share some more with them or help them as they're learning how to watch their words, because it is a learning process. They're not going to come out knowing. They're going to have to be taught. And so understanding first of all, they're taught by watching us. And that's a scary thought. That's a lot of pressure. But understanding they're being taught by watching or listening to us. And I think one of the first things we teach our children is respect. We want them to have respectful words. We want to teach them manners, so to speak. We teach them the nice words, the kind words, please, thank you, you're welcome, all of those kind of things. And those are great things. Those make this little mama heart so proud when I hear the little ones in class using those words. But we're also wanting to teach them to respect us, to use those words that show respect. And this starts when they are little bitty. If you have a child, understanding that one of the first words a child learns is no, because that's what they're hearing a lot of as they're adventuring out on their little journey. But we want to make sure that they understand they can't tell us no. That's not okay. Part of our role as a parent is to teach them to honor their father and mother. And if we don't teach them to honor their father and mother, we're putting them on a very ugly path for themselves. Why would we do that to them as parents? So understanding that even your little ones between like the ages of 9 to 12 months will start maybe slapping you or telling you no, or maybe telling you no and slapping you. And you can't allow that. You have to, some of them, you can just take them by the hand and, just take their hand and say, oh, no, and I don't know why we say no when they're telling us no, but that's not okay, to hit mommy. We can't do that. And I've seen young mothers with their first child just be so overwhelmed in this, because it's hard, and it can be so heavy. Out of my 4 boys, we have 5 kids, my 4 boys, 2 of them were very strong where this was concerned. And I actually am kind of surprised they're still alive. But you try everything. You work through everything. We did soap, a little dab of soap on the finger, or Tabasco on the finger, or whatever it takes. And it started with just a little thump on the mouth when they were little. You can't say no. You can't tell mama no, or whatever it might have been in the whole process of figuring out, how do I teach this child some self-control where their words are concerned. And it's an ongoing process, but it starts when they are little, because we need to teach them to respect others. That's what we want for them, is them to have this respect for others, and they're not using their words in an ugly way. And then tone, as we're teaching them to watch their words. Tone is a huge aspect of it. And kids will grasp onto this so quickly, because it will be that, well, I didn't say anything ugly. And it was like, well, your tone. I mean, I can say, oh, I like you so much. You're like my best friend. Well, my tone and my facial expressions say total opposite of what my words say. So there's tone plays into that, and teaching them that not every tone is respectful, and understanding to control that, and placing some self-control in place there. But again, they're watching us. And so if your child walks up to you when you're in the middle of something, and you answer kind of impatiently because you've just been disrupted, we've all been there, done that. But if that's the pattern they see all the time, then they may have that tone. In fact, I've always said, if you want to see how you behave or how you interact with others, watch those toddlers, early elementary age kids. Ooh, scary, especially preschoolers. They are being you. So you want to see how you react to others? Watch your kids. No, don't do it. It's scary. But understanding tone can really set the tone. But understanding that makes a huge difference. Now, what I did with the bridge kids, now this is obviously older kids, but I had them make a list. As we're talking about watching our words, we made a list of negative ways we use our words and positive ways we use our words. And the kids came up with all kinds of things. I mean, all kinds of aspects for both, how we should and how we shouldn't, and different things that I hadn't even thought of. So you may want to sit down and do that with your kids and say, okay, if we have a good heart, what kind of things come out of a good heart? If we have an ugly heart, what kind of things come out of an ugly heart? And showing them that, so that they see that and they kind of start understanding. Because remember, we have to teach them what that looks like, what those words look like, and what those words sound like, and the boundaries that they need to put into place. But that really helped the kids understanding that, especially as they're little and they're getting bigger, and even in the bridge class, they're at that interesting age where they're right before they're too cool for school kind of thing. I love that age group, though. They still hug me. But understanding they're really wanting to fit in, so they're going to use phrases and words that they might not understand because everybody else is using them. And instead of blowing up when some of those things are not great, ask them, what do you think that means? What does that mean to you? Because I also know that the meaning of words changes all the time. So instead of blowing up, asking them to communicate, to express, what does that mean? What does that word mean that you're using? We need to watch how we use our words. Are you a better person because you use that word? Is that word coming out of a good heart, or is that word coming out of a bad heart? helping them to understand that sometimes we have to stop and go, we can't just talk like everybody else. We have to make sure we're kind of watching what's happening there and not just throwing out words that we've heard. So teaching them that helps them understand that we choose our words. We choose what we say. We choose how we respond to others. We choose our words. And I've had my children, and I know probably I've said, well, I couldn't help it. It just came out. And I know even as an adult, sometimes that filter slides or that guard on my tongue slides. And it's like, oh, that came out. Well, I could have chosen not to say that. And we do so much for our children. We give them such a huge blessing when we start helping them put those guards into place at a young age, because they'll be better off than some of us that didn't get a good guard on their tongue at an older age. But helping them understand you chose the words that you said, holding them accountable for the words that they chose to say, and helping them to understand we always want to choose good words. We don't want to tear others up. Now, also in the words that we choose, I've put gossip in this, watching our words and the words that we choose. Gossip is a huge issue, and it's not just an adult issue. It's an issue that children struggle with too. It falls under bullying, because it is that using our words to tear others down and to lift ourselves up. Well, that's bullying. And kids do that. And their hearts, I like to think their hearts are pure, but it's their lack of self-confidence. It's easy to get sucked into that gossip and tear others down so that you look better, because you don't even like how you look. So if you're tearing others down, you kind of feel like you're all in the same place. Well, that's not okay. And helping them to understand, we don't bring that home. We don't talk about others that way. They're going to be watching you too. Are you involved in gossip? Because they're going to know. Are you lifting others up with your words, or are you tearing others down? Gossip is such a sickness, and it's so easy to get pulled into it. I know now why the Lord says it's such a sin, because it's so easy to get pulled into it. Gossip is that thing too that can make us feel like we fit in, because when we know something about, this is even adults, but it's kids too. I know something about somebody, and let me share that with you because, well, I know stuff. I know them. I know about them. I'm so in the circle kind of thing. Oh, be careful. Be careful with that. Knowledge is power, and that's not a good thing where gossip is concerned. So learning to control gossip. In fact, if you want to learn to control gossip and you want to plant that seed in your heart so that those words pour out, every time you get into a group of people or even one-on-one with someone and gossip starts taking place, say something positive about the person that's being talked about. Lift them up. Make sure you come up with something positive, because it will either stop the gossip right then and there, because we really are trying to turn the conversation back in a positive direction, or it will ruin that relationship that you have, because people aren't going to want to gossip around you because you're spoiling all their fun. But that's who we want to be. We want to be those that we don't gossip about others. And again, it is so easy to get pulled into. And don't you wish that was something our parents, not that my parents were great parents. They were great, but planted those filters and those seeds in our heads so that it wasn't so important to us. It didn't make us feel powerful. It actually made us feel worse. So understanding, make sure you talk to your kids about gossip. Make sure you're not allowing gossip in your house about others that in any way that pulls people down or makes you see them in a negative view, or your kids see them in a negative view. And I understand about talking about friends that they shouldn't have, but if you're going to be talking about friends maybe that they shouldn't be hanging out with, make sure you point out, there's things going on in that family that maybe they don't know Jesus, or maybe they're not teaching that, or we don't behave that way. They can't help it. But right now you can't be friends with them or whatever. But make sure you're very careful with how you talk in a negative manner about others, because it can be gossip. So watching that even with your kids. Now in the kids class, in the bridge class, I took this book. This isn't my idea. In fact, you found it on YouTube, so you can go watch the actual video and learn more about it. But I took the book Chrysanthemum. And then I cut out of tissue paper hearts, and each of the kids got a heart. And then as I read the story Chrysanthemum, every time somebody said something that would hurt your heart, you crumpled your heart. And then every time something was said that made you feel good, you tried to smooth your heart out. Well, by the end of the story, the heart is crumpled and smoothed, and even all of the positive things that you've smoothed the heart out, you can't take the crumpled part away. You can't take it away completely. And so understanding that your words affect others. What you choose to say affects other people. And then take that heart, read that story with them, take that heart and put it on the bathroom mirror, or put it on their chair where they eat dinner, or put it on the lamp at their bed. But let them see that and let them understand my words affect others. It really does. So we want to be those that watch our words and that we're not using our words in an ugly way. Now, here's a good way to watch your words. Again, this isn't something I came up with. This was Wayne when we started doing our marriage seminar and talking about communication and the importance of good communication. Wayne took 1 Corinthians chapter 13 there, the love portion, love is patient, love is kind, and he replaced the word communication. My communication is patient, my communication. So for kids, I took it and said, my words will be patient. My words will be patient. And we talk about, what is that? What does that mean when I say my words are patient? And it's that I will stop and take a breath and count to 5 before I reply. I'm going to be patient. I'm not going to just be explosive with my words. Or I'm going to be patient as we're having a conversation. I'm going to let you talk. I'm going to be patient and let you talk. I'm going to be a good listener and let you talk before I talk. So understanding, but pointing that out and talking about my words will be patient and my words will be kind. It's that old thing. If you can't say something kind, don't say anything at all. All of these go for social media too. If you can't say something kind, even if you're using a scripture, but you're trying to point something out and tear somebody down, that's not kind. That's not kind. So teaching your children how to use their words in a kind way. My words don't show jealousy. And this is something we have to teach our children. We have to teach them how to respond to others. Well, she gets to, or I want that, or whatever. Those are jealousy words. Those are words that are showing jealousy. And so it's teaching them, okay, I know you feel this way, but what can you say about that? How else can you express that you're not being jealous, that you are showing love in your words? How can you do that? And obviously, as your kids are getting a little older, some of these things are easier to communicate with. It's hard to teach them to the littles, but they understand more than you think they do. That they understand nice words and ugly words. They get that. They understand talking hateful and talking sweet. They understand that. So pointing out some of these things as they grow. Now there's the one on does not boast. My words do not boast. My words aren't proud. My words aren't all about me. All of those kind of fit together. And it's teaching your children to not always be talking about themselves. It is teaching your children not to be self-centered. It is teaching your children it's okay to be proud of ourselves when we do something good, but do we have to tell everybody about it? Kind of thing, making sure they have a place. Home is where they can share all of these things and share those things, and then finding a way for them to share with grandparents or special friends or whatever, but it's not always focused on them. And kids are struggling with that because they're building their self-confidence. And it's easy for them to get caught up in continually talking about them. But when they're continually talking about them, they're not allowing themselves actually to show that love to others because they're self-focused. So keeping their words not so self-centered. My words don't dishonor others. My words don't ever tear others down. They don't show dishonor in any way or lack of respect in any way, whether it's my tone or what I say or how I say it. We make sure we're lifting others up. But I've also put on there that doesn't dishonor myself. We need to make sure we're teaching our kids they're going to go, not all of them, but a lot of them. And I find girls, maybe more so. I don't know. My boys were a different breed. But girls can go through those tween age, those junior high age, and maybe all through high school. It's a very competitive world that they live in, and they don't see themselves in very good eyes. They can't. They can see themselves, I'm too fat, or I'm too short, or I'm too skinny, or whatever it might be. But don't allow that kind of talk in your home where they dishonor themselves. Or if one sibling is talking ugly about the other, don't allow that. You don't allow that. God created them to be them, and you need to teach them to not be self-centered, but self-appreciated, that God created them. And so watch those words too, because that shows a heart that's struggling. And that's our role, is to guard that heart and watch for those things that show they're struggling. My words aren't easily angered. Teaching them to step back and take a breath and not spout off when they are hurt and they're upset. We all get angry. We understand that. But helping your children express that anger starts from the very beginning. You can't allow them to just throw fits to get attention. Wayne says that when he was little, he was hammering his head on the floor or something, and his mom would make a big deal about it. So he would hammer his head on the floor when he'd get upset with her, whatever. And then one day she's like, oh, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. And she stepped over him. And it was the last time he threw a fit like that again. So understanding that, be careful of teaching them how to behave in a poor way, because we don't know how to deal with it. And believe me, get it. I understand. Trying to figure out how to deal with that difficult child can be tricky. But find somebody to talk to. I'm here. I don't know everything, but I'm willing to listen, and we'll figure it out together. Then my love doesn't keep track of wrongs. It doesn't keep track of wrongs. And that's so important. It's that thing of going, oh, but she did it last time. She did it, but mom, she did, or tattletelling. Our words don't do that. So understanding that. And then our words don't, they don't like it. They don't like evil. It's you don't say, oh, good, she got in trouble. And when you see your child doing that about a sibling, that's not okay. That's not okay. We don't rejoice when evil happens. And we just kind of teach them to watch those words. So it's all about putting the guards around them. We get to hear their words, and that's going to tell us about their heart. And so understanding that there are times we're going to have to sit down and talk and grow together in those things. Don't be overwhelmed. I mean, this is a total, here, let me dump these things in your lap. Don't be overwhelmed. This is a process. And I believe God fills in the gaps. That was my Oklahoma coming out there, God fills in the gaps. So understand that as you're teaching them to guard those words, do it together as a family. Do it together as a family and put those things in place so that we are pleasing to the Lord. Are we going to make mistakes? Yep. Aren't we thankful for that continual blood of Jesus? Love you all. I forgot your questions, so I'm going to put those in the comments, and we'll talk about those next week. And by the way, happy Valentine's Day, and don't be watching this on Valentine's Day. Talk to you later. Bye.